Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I guess I'm Rob?
And this is a brand new episode of Say Hello to My Little Film.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
That's right, everybody. We are back with another episode of Say Hello to My Little Film. Rob, this is your episode. You want to tell everybody what you're going to try to get accomplished here today?
Absolutely. Here on Say Hello to My Little Film, I am going to be recommending to Ray a movie that I love in the hopes of trying to get him to love it as much as I do.
I've never seen it. We're going to call this our fresh perspective on a retrospective review.
That's right.
What do you got for me? Give me some hints.
Well, let's see. I remember way back in season one, I
don't remember season one
You
at
don't
all.
remember season
it's
one
like
at all?
a fever dream to me right now.
can't even believe we're in our third season. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
we are.
so I can totally understand why you may not
The
remember
back
the first
half of
season.
season 3. We're in August.
That is crazy. That is true. Oh my God. But way back, in the way back machine, I went back to season one, and I recommended a movie to you from a genre, from an era that I think is really just underrated, and that is the sci-fi films of the mid to late 90s.
Ooh, yes.
You remember what film that was?
Yes. With Ethan Hawke.
Right. got a name for me besides Ethan Hawke?
The movie was good. I really liked it.
It's called Gattaca.
Gattaca, that's right.
And
I haven't seen it since, but I did really enjoy
yeah,
Gattaca.
Gattaca is a great movie. And I think that there is a lot of underrated sci-fi films from the 90s that I think kind of get overlooked, but it's such a great transitional period between, like 80s sci-fi, which is so iconic, and what we kind of know of now is kind of your big budget spectacle sci-fi films. And I have one today that is going to tickle a couple of your fancies. One is that sci-fi 90s edge,
Cool.
and another is a neo-noir,
I do like neo-noir.
which I guess Gattaca kind of did as well.
Yeah, is that 90s sci-fi? Is
Somewhat
neo-noir?
yes,
Yeah.
somewhat yes. But this is kind of a cult movie. It's not necessarily a movie that I think is, super loved. I love it, and I do know other people that do, and it's from a director that has maybe a more iconic movie, and I'll get to that.
You never give me their most iconic. It's always the runner-up.
You'll know the most iconic when I say it. And
Okay.
You probably have seen the most iconic before, but this one is I think is right up there with it.
Okay.
But it's a fun movie. It's like I said, sci-fi noir, mid to late 90s. I think there's gonna be a lot of stuff for you in this movie.
Sounds like you're scratching my itch, Rob, so I got to know. What do you got?
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
What I got for you, Ray, is a film by the director Alex Proyas. Do you know that name?
I don't think so.
He is most well known for directing The Crow.
Okay, seen The Crow.
You have seen The
It
Crow.
has been a minute.
Fair enough. Yeah, I love The Crow. I usually watch it at least a couple times a year. He also directed iRobot.
Okay, I've
Which
definitely seen iRobot
I know
many
you've definitely
times.
seen iRobot. I was working at Blockbuster when iRobot came out. But what I have got for you today is his 1998 neo-noir sci-fi classic, Dark City. It stars Rufus Sewell, William Hurt, Keifer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly.
Cool.
It is a great cast, and it all revolves around Rufus Sewell's character named John Murdoch, and he wakes up in a hotel bathroom with amnesia. And he can't remember why he's there or how he got there. And he ends up getting a strange phone call that he needs to flee the room immediately.
Some Memento vibes I'm getting right now.
Kind of, yep. And as he leaves, he discovers that there is a corpse, a dead woman in the room, ritualistically murdered, and he is the suspect.
He's prime suspect number 1.
Exactly.
Not good.
So he ends up kind of fleeing into this kind of dark city,
Sure.
as you have it, and he ends up kind of becoming the I guess the target, if you will, of a strange group of men, dark cladded, trench coats, strange hat. You kind of see, and there's a dark underbelly to all this, and they're like, why is this happening?
He's got to solve the crime himself kind of deal.
Kind of, yeah. So it's a great movie. Like I said, there's a lot of really interesting stylistic points to this movie. I think the production design is so good. It is noir, but it is sci-fi, and it kind of draws on a lot of really great touchstone comparisons. But one thing that people really claim is that this movie was actually an influence on The Matrix.
Oh yeah.
So
I
and
can
I think
connect
you'll
some
see
of those
that.
dots.
Yeah, so I think you might see that in this movie as well, because this came out the year before The Matrix.
Mhm.
So and like I said, great cast. Jennifer Connelly is really great in it. Keifer Sutherland is a really great performance in this movie. I'm super excited to show it to you because, like I said, I think this era of sci-fi. We've touched on a couple different things. We watched it's kind of different, but like Barbed Wire.
Sure,
While
yeah.
that wasn't a great movie for you, or you didn't
Yeah.
really enjoy it, but I think that there's some really stylistic stuff that these movies really kind of did that feel of the era.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of nostalgia for that. So I think you will enjoy this movie. It's something different. I had not done a sci-fi movie yet this year.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I was just trying to run the Rolodex through my head. I don't think so.
Exactly. So that was another reason I wanted to go to this direction. So I'm super excited to show it to you, kind of do something different. But we'll see if you like it.
We will see, and then you guys can see. And if you haven't seen Dark City in a long time or ever, do it now. Pause the podcast, check the film out, and then come back, because that's what me and Rob are going to do. So you are going to be able to see if I love this movie as much as Rob wants me to.
Ray and Rob are currently watching The Film. You may be also watching The Film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching The Film. They'll be right back when they're done watching The Film.
All right, everybody, we are back. Me and Rob are back from watching Dark City. I feel like we watched Dark Truman Show, though. This was like they're trapped in this town, but the whole town's trapped, not just one guy.
That's true. But you don't think the Truman Show is dark? In and of
Well,
itself?
I meant like lighting wise. This
That's
is
fair.
dark.
We have left the dark. We are back in the light. The Truman Show was also in the light, but it did have some dark subject matter.
For sure. Totally different. These movies, actually, I looked it up. I'm like, could one have inspired the other? But they came out pretty much, I think they both came out in 98. So I doubt they would have really been able to inspire each other. But
Probably
some
filming at the
similarities
same
in
time.
terms of that, like voyeurism, I guess,
Yeah.
is that theme that was going for me there.
I think you're. I don't think you're far off. I think that, I mentioned it in the before section about how a lot of people say that they see the inspiration in the Matrix from Dark City, and I think that is 100% true. In fact, some people go as far as to say, like, did the Matrix rip this movie off in some regards? And so I think that is kind of interesting. But I think more maybe to the point is, I do think this was just kind of the in the zeitgeist. Like, the idea of this type of movie was kind of in the zeitgeist at the time.
Yeah.
Control. That idea of control and people controlling you and watching you and things like that. I think that was really starting to kind of permeate the time in the late 90s. So I think, I think that as we talk about Dark City, we'll talk about the inspirations that maybe it had for other films, but I do think they were all kind of looking at the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time for a specific reason.
Yeah, so I think maybe I wouldn't want to think about, did the Matrix rip this off? Because I know you kind of mentioned the before section that a lot of people think that the Matrix was inspired by this.
Right. Yes.
But I do think we can think about the Matrix and this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe, but frame it different.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think for me at this point, especially after rewatching this again, because I recommend this movie. I love this movie, and I feel like I love it even more every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, knowing that this came out a year before The Matrix, and what The Matrix became as far as like a pop cultural phenomenon, my question is, why not Dark City?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it coming a year before, having a very similar storyline. Like, what about Dark City made it not the hit that The Matrix became?
Now there's a question.
I think so.
Let's center on that
Why
because I think
not
that
Dark
question
City?
is more about Dark City, and that's what we really do want to talk about.
Correct.
So let's start talking about it.
Yeah.
So this is my first exposure to Dark City, and there's a lot of movie in here. I'll
There
say
is.
that, which I think is good. Like I kind of, unlike The Matrix, where that's a trilogy of movies, like this is really self-contained.
Mhm.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot of meat on the bone. So you do have to. They have to get a lot done.
Yeah.
And so this movie is quickly paced.
Mhm.
There's a lot of scenes that are short, but they're like keep moving the plot around, and it's doing a lot. It's doing a lot of legwork in this hour and 40 runtime.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't really have the big action scenes, but it does move at a good clip, and I think that helps the movie.
Absolutely. Whenever you're sitting in a screenwriting class or whatever, one of the first rules is you got to have something big happen in the first 10 pages. You know what I mean? Like the first 10 pages are what hook your audience.
Sure.
And I think that this movie does that in spades. Now, granted, some people might say that the way they do it is a bit maybe cheap, having this idea of like, oh, he just wakes up in a room and doesn't know why he's there. There's
Yeah.
a dead body on the floor. What happened? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it feels kind of somewhat like a base writing exercise.
Kind of feels like Saw there, like Saw kind of ripped off the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's totally fair. But I think where it goes from there is great, and I think that's what it what the takeaway is. And you're right. Like once John Murdoch leaves that room, it really is like a freight train. It just pretty much goes, because
Yeah.
he's on the run.
Yeah.
There's not really a down moment for him in the entire movie.
Yeah, he's on the run from multiple angles. He's on the run from aliens. He's on the run from the police. He's on the run from like himself. He's kind of scared. Is he a murderer?
Right.
So there's a lot of things. And I think that the movie, there's also that, before he wakes up in the room, there's that bit of exposition from Keifer Sutherland,
Right.
like to kind of put you in the movie. And it's kind of like, there's a lot in there that kind of is like, it's a little confusing at first, but I think that's the point, and I think that's good. Because like you're supposed to be confused for much of this movie, you know what I mean. You're not supposed to have this kind of figured out. It's supposed to come off as like weird and be a little not lost, but just like how's this all working? What are the motives? And basically in the same position as your protagonist. So I like that. I like that they kind of just dove in like, bro, there's aliens here. They're controlling reality. It's really messed up. Look at this naked guy in a bathtub.
Right.
Like I do think that's a strong start.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think really grabs you right off the bat is the production design. I think you're kind of, you live in the world. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it really just soaks you in right away. Like I mean it's you can't get away from it. I
Yeah.
mean the dark is like so thick throughout this whole movie. I mean you're basically swimming in it.
Yeah.
But the Art Deco style, I think, is really great. Having the green tile in that opening scene, and it's beautifully shot. Where you've got that downward shot, of all the tile work, and then him in the bathtub, and all of that.
Yeah.
Like
It's probably the brightest scene in the movie. The way the green
Right.
tile is lit, like
Right.
it actually has a light on it. Like
that's true. No, that's 100% fair. But like I said, I think all of that stuff, it's playing on all of your senses.
Yeah.
So for being, like I said, such like a base idea of like a hook of a movie,
Yeah.
that it is, like I said, just everything, every element of it is what draws you in and takes you
Yeah.
beyond that.
Well, let me tell you this, and I mean this as a compliment. So sometimes I guess what I'm about to say could be a negative toward a movie, but I don't mean that in this case. But like I think the strongest part of this movie are the effects and the way it's shot and the way
Yeah.
it looks.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I don't like that about a movie. I want it to be about the characters and the plot and stuff. But and this movie has plenty of plot though, so I guess that's why I'm saying this isn't an insult when I'm using it in this context this time. But the effects of this movie are very ambitious.
Yeah.
They are like, it's almost like Inception-y type
Mhm.
stuff, the way that the city is manipulated and buildings grow and disappear and merge.
Mhm.
And a lot of it seems practical, and the
Mhm.
stuff that's not practical is, it's in CGI and it's just lit, maybe because it's not lit because there's no
Super
sun.
bright,
Yeah,
right.
which we learn late, kind of learn later in the movie. There's no sun on this city. There's no daytime ever. Like maybe it can hide some flaws that could have existed in 1998 CGI, because they still hold up, and they're still strong and effective, and they merge with the miniature work really well in regards to the special effects. And then the shots that they do, again, without a ton of lighting options, it's really impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Because we did Spawn last year
Yes.
for Hello Movies, and we talked about how awful, god awful, a lot of the effects
Remarkably
in that movie,
awful.
really remarkably awful, how a lot of the effects in that
Yeah.
movie were. And I think in that same episode we talked about like the first Blade movie and how like some of the last final battle effects in that movie are garbage. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of movies from that time that were kind of playing with CGI in the late 90s that have not aged well.
Right.
But Dark City's not one of them.
I would say no.
And I think Dark City really does hold up. And I think you're right. Using the miniature work, and I love that you brought up Inception, because that is so spot on. When they have those wides of the city changing, and the buildings growing and shrinking, and manipulating and all of that. I mean, it does feel exactly like Inception. So, going back to this whole idea of the inspiration of Dark City, I think that's another great, movie to put out there as another possibility of just how far-reaching this movie kind of ended up being, despite maybe it's not blockbuster box office success.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the movie is more than just visuals, which is great, because the plot is really dense and it takes a long time to settle into. And those are usually the movies that will hook me, when it's like, I don't need all the answers right away. I like to theorize along the way, be wrong, but some areas be right in others.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of those movies where it's like you're kind of always sitting there guessing, like, how's it going to get figured out? What really happened?
Yeah.
And I enjoy that, and I enjoyed that with this one. And they move one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of places to start because it is so dense.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's talk a little bit about the reveal of information, because
Sure.
I think that's one. Talking about the mystery element of it and how it unfolds. I think it is really masterful how Alex Proyas kind of moves you through that first act. Him waking up from the bathtub, but then it's almost like yes and. As he's moving out through the building, talking to the clerk at the desk, all of that, and the little bits of information that he's able to glean as he moves along on his quest. So, seeing the sign-in book and seeing J. Murdoch. Okay, so my name's J. Murdoch, and then
and he
so
has
that's
that
the
scene where
next
he's
clue.
guessing what his name
Right,
could be.
just like trying him on for size. I'm Justin Murdoch.
Jason.
I'm Jason Murdoch. I'm John Murdoch. I mean, he even hits it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't register.
Right.
He just keeps going. So
And the briefcase has KH on it,
Right.
which he later has to find out what KH is.
Right, exactly. So I think that Alex Proyas does a really good job of that kind of slow drip. But obviously I've seen this movie many times, so I knew all about that. But for you on your first time, how did you feel as that first time viewer getting that first time experience? How did that reveal work for you?
Well, it's good stuff. And some of that stuff, like, you don't know if it's important until later when you see that it is. You know what I mean? So you don't know it's slow drip until you learn later that it was.
Yeah.
Like the KH on the briefcase, they do show it, but you're like, was that on purpose, or what is that? Is he going to notice that, or what? And so, but one other thing I think I really liked too that kind of left me in a loop was, he's trying to figure out too if he's a murderer,
Right.
and he has a memory of himself like covered in blood near the dead women. So it's almost like the movie kind of tells you like he did this, or he
Right.
remembers doing this.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what? Like, how are you gonna get out of that one? So
Right.
there's a lot of that kind of stuff that just every time you're like, no, he's a good guy, and there's this is a classic movie where there's no way he killed those girls. Like, they never
Right.
do.
Right.
And then he shows a memory of him doing it, or like post doing it, and you're like, oh, tough. This is tough. This is gonna be a tough one to get out of.
Yeah.
For him, but yeah. So I love that the movie kept stringing you along, and they do a good job of like when they'll answer one small question, but it opens up the door to another question. So you never you're always being slow fed the information, but there's so much information to be fed that you never feel like you're starving. Because I hate when slow reveal TV shows are worse than movies probably, but like they just take way too long to give you any answers.
Yeah.
And this movie doesn't falter there.
Not at all. Like I said, it moves pretty quickly, and it moves and even the reveal of information is quick, but it's slow, but it's quick. Like it's
Right.
It's
There's
drips.
just a lot to
but there's a
unfold.
lot of drips, and they
Yeah.
keep working forward, and I think that's great. I think going back to the psychological element of it, I think the Bumstead character is a really great kind of foil character, if you will, as far as, did John Murdoch do this? Did he not do this? Is he a criminal? Is he not? Because being the detective character, having to put these pieces together, he's the one that going in thinking that he did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's got the preconceived notion that John Murdoch is a murderer and he has to find him because he's a murderer. And but even with that, they still have those moments. So like in the bathroom where the fish is in the tub. And he's like, well, what kind of killer stops to save a dying fish?
Yeah.
So even with that, having those preconceived notions, believing that he's the murderer, they still have those moments of doubt like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is great for you as a viewer because they do want you to have doubt whether he
Right.
did or didn't
Yeah.
do it, because it's like, well, you can't remember it. Like if they wanted you to know from the beginning that he didn't do it, then they would have shown him, whatever, what I
Right.
mean? Like they wouldn't have had that mystery element to it. Like you would know, you would have been shown something to know that, but they don't want you to know that.
Right.
So like you were saying, with that kind of injection of that memory of him with the blood, on him, that's kind of that red herring situation, but that obviously blooms into something so much darker, so much bigger,
Yeah.
bigger conspiracy.
Yeah, I love that how William Hurt's character in here, because he like you said, he feels like he's gonna be a tough foil to overcome, but he also feels like that, would you call it a fake ally or fake antagonist a little bit?
Yeah,
or,
it's a fake ally.
Yeah.
but he's not really by the end. He's not a fake ally.
no, I mean, I guess
or
I'm
a
saying,
fake
is he?
antagonist. Yeah.
No, he's because he's like he is a good guy. You know what I mean? Because he,
well,
'cause
fake ally would be
Yeah.
an antagonist pretending to be an ally.
right. So a fake
He's-
antagonist,
Yeah,
kind
almost
of.
right.
Yeah.
Like he has that change of heart as the movie goes
Right,
on.
and you can almost tell right away because the movie does a good job of him noticing when the other officer's shoes untied.
right.
Like I wrote a note right away, like super observant dude. He's probably going to be able to figure some stuff out, for us.
Yeah.
So I kind of always felt like he was going to be more helpful, and I like that because it's like the one thing the movie does not delay on is like really introducing you to these alien dudes.
Right.
Like they are like frontline and center, and I feel like sometimes like that could be too like you could slow drip that too much in a movie if you like this movie done poorly, where like they don't
Right.
really show these alien dudes, like you just kind of hear about them, but like no, they're front and center, and that's got to be tough too to like keep that information like not fully making sense when you're seeing the bad guys do the bad things.
Yeah.
So like there's some brilliance in there where like you're getting full exposure to these bad aliens, like humanoid aliens, but like you're still not sure like what exactly they're doing. So like I don't know, I found like a really good balance there of like giving me like a real antagonist, something weird and freaky without giving me the answers to what they're doing.
Right. I think I think some of the big reveals early on with them as characters is great. So when they change out the hotel clerk,
Right.
like you meet the first one and he has the line. I have it written down. It's such a great line.
Been here for 25 years.
The only thing that makes you a guest here is cash on the barrelhead.
Right. Okay.
And then
yes.
when they switch him out and the cops are talking to the new clerk,
Right.
he says the same thing. He's like, I told him the only thing that makes you a guest here is cash on the barrelhead. So it's
Yeah.
like those little things, like they feel subtle. Like almost if you weren't paying attention to like what the clerk looked like,
Yeah.
you may not have noticed that.
Yeah.
But
Or if you notice it, because I noticed it, but I was like, is that a company line or something?
right.
Like, so it didn't, it was odd. Like, you take note of it, but you're not sure why.
Right, exactly. So they do a good job of putting that stuff out there and in your face, and then you have to kind of piece it together.
Yeah.
And so, but it shows a level of power that they have or could have.
Right.
But you need to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
and
How
far
could
it
they?
goes.
How could they have that power? And the same thing with the original store hotel clerk was put to sleep in the hotel room, but when the police go there, he's not there.
Right.
He's nowhere to be found. So
Right.
you're kind of like, well, what happened
Yeah.
to that guy?
And then obviously he pops up later as the newspaper stand guy because and
Who
it
thinks he's been working there for 25 years.
right. And then by that point though you have a more you know what's going on
Yeah.
at that point.
And they kind of
more or
spell
less.
that one out because John asks him the question, like, how long have you worked here? Is it 25 years? No time off for good behavior.
Right.
So we don't think he's worked there for 25 years because we knew him as a hotel clerk 25 minutes ago.
Right, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about since we're talking about the reveal of information, let's talk about the voice on the phone, the one that sends him on his journey more or less, and that is Dr. Schreiber. Schreiber?
Yes,
Schreiber?
sure.
Schraber.
I
think
wrote
it's
him as
Schraber.
doctor, and everyone might know, so I'm not sure.
It's Schraber, I'm pretty sure. But Kiefer Sutherland nonetheless.
Yes.
So I think this is a great Kiefer Sutherland performance.
Yeah.
You know, he has such a presence about him. Like even when he was young, you know, Lost Boys and stuff
Yeah.
like that, Flatliners. I think that, you know,
Underrated character actor,
I think he
maybe?
is. You know, I'm honestly going to say that. Even though the funny thing was, I was never a big fan of 24. Like I never watched
Me
24,
either.
but I feel like I almost kind of want to, just because I do really like Kiefer Sutherland. But anyway, it's a great performance, and he adds that kind of creepy doctor vibe to this movie that makes it just sing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like they kind of, the main character, I will say, almost feels muted compared to everybody else, which is, of course, he would, because he's not really himself. He's figuring himself out.
Right.
But maybe because he is a muted character, you need these surrounding characters to be so much bigger.
Yeah.
And like Kiefer Sutherland kind of does that really good job, because he has that like bated breath style of speaking.
Right.
And of course, then everybody else around him is aliens with like magical powers. So
Right.
that's very big. But somehow, like, I feel like it's funny, because I kind of wrote a note here. It's like the whole cast is made up of aliens with magical powers, but the doctor still stands out as the weirdest one.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong with that. I think, you know, he had developed the character of Dr. Schraber, and it fits this type of movie, this kind of noirish
Yeah.
type movie, and you kind of, like you said, over the top. You know, we've watched Bogart movies, you know, since we started this, and there are definitely those characters. I think Peter Lorre, you know, and I think that's you know, I could have seen an actor like Peter Lorre playing this character superbly.
Yeah.
But
And they do a really good job of you not really knowing where he stands. Like
Sure,
speaking
yeah.
of fake ally or fake antagonist, like he's really confusing character on like what are his real motives? Is he okay? Is he in league with them? Is he okay with this?
Yeah.
Is he just doing it for survival? And it's almost really never clear until the very, 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 very last scene he's in.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of in a very similar situation to John in a way, because he had to basically erase his past to
Yeah.
be able to work for the strangers.
Right.
Like he had to do what John has done or had done to him, where his memories are gone. You know,
Mhm.
and that's, you know, like you were saying, John's not just figuring himself out, like he's almost a blank. You know,
Right,
like
yeah.
everybody else who has been changed out or whatever, or whoever they are now is injected into their head. He woke up before this new person was like fully put into him, like the serial killer was put into him.
Right.
So
Bad timing.
He's almost like, he is almost kind of like a blank. So I think that is an interesting element of his character as well. But, you know, obviously with Schraber, it's he has all of his science knowledge, you know,
Right.
needed, psychology knowledge needed, but he doesn't remember where he comes from or his family or anything like that. So he's also in some regards trying to figure out who he is.
He's trying to figure out who he is, and there's an ulterior motive, I guess, working in there. Because even when he is like, you know, during the changing or whatever you call it at midnight, when everybody kind of pauses and they give everybody new memories to experiment with and reshape the reality a little bit, it's hard to tell if he's enjoying what he's doing, if he's just doing it because he has to. They just do a good job of like keeping it gray enough where you can't tell if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Like I don't know when I was watching this movie if I want John to go to him or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, is he gonna help you or not? I am not sure.
Yeah. No, and you're right. I think even, yeah, up until that last moment, when they're at the pool or whatever,
Yeah.
and they finally like kidnap him, like you really don't know. And I
Yeah.
think that you don't know, can I trust you? Can I not trust you? And I think that keeps that tension high,
Right.
which is good, because a movie like this, a noir movie like this, sci-fi or not, you want that tension between the characters, because you know you don't want to know, you don't know who you can trust, and it's very effective in that way. Let's talk a little bit about Jennifer Connelly,
I wanted to go there next too.
because obviously I'm a big Jennifer Connelly fan. I mean, I love her work in Labyrinth, Career Opportunities. I mean, you know, Requiem for a Dream. I mean, it just goes on and on and on
Sure.
with Jennifer Connelly. Like, she's just fantastic. And I think this is a very interesting performance for her, kind of being this kind of femme fatale-esque type character, because like
Mhm.
she is and she isn't. She kind of is like the every woman, but she's also kind of being like that, you know, seductress lounge singer. So how did that work for you?
I really liked her use in this movie. I guess like I really found it where I thought it got really interesting was like the idea that she like when John talks to her, and this is a later part of the movie, but like you got this woman who's obviously feels bad that she has cheated on her husband and maybe forced a psychotic break that's turned him into a murderer. So she's
Right.
like, she's trying to like, she's not trying to like turn him in. She's trying to like save him throughout the movie. But then they get to that conversation, like I said, maybe the 3/4 mark where he's like, I don't think you cheated on me. I don't think we were ever even married.
Right, when he actually was when arrested when he was
Yeah.
arrested, turned himself in. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I loved that I love that paradigm shift in that moment. Like
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this guilt that she's like bearing. And we kind of know at this point how like they're injecting fake memories into
Yeah.
people and like people are being manipulated. But it never crossed my mind that was her manipulation. Like I thought maybe when he started to say the conversation, I was like, oh yeah, maybe she didn't cheat on him. Maybe like they put that she cheated in his head. But then when he's like, I don't think we're even ever married or know each other, I was like, oh wow, well that kind of caught me off guard. Like the depth of what they're doing to the people, like really like became succinct in my brain with that statement. Like, oh, they're changing like their whole lives on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so like to feel that level of love and commitment to each other that they have, that probably is just all fake and was only put in their brains a couple hours ago. I don't know. I really like that paradigm shift. And then from that point, that complete blank slate, trying to figure out if they would still get together or find some new love, I thought
Yeah.
was interesting with them.
Yeah, in that scene she tells him like I love you, like and you can't fake that. You know what I mean? And it's like I think that is a very interesting point of view to have.
It's where a theme of the movie starts to blossom.
Right.
Like that not like that's the only theme, but that theme.
Right, exactly. And like you said, knowing that their whole past is a lie
Yeah.
at that point, knowing that it didn't happen, that they didn't meet on the river the way that they thought they did, or all of
Right.
that stuff, and their relationship didn't, like you said, kind of blossom the way that they believe it did. And we talk about this in other movies is when you have these characters, especially having to get the viewer to buy into their relationship quickly. They don't even start the movie together.
No.
It takes them a little bit for them to even be on screen together.
Yeah.
It takes them a little time.
He goes to her house not even knowing he's going to find a wife. He's
Right.
thinking he might even think he's going to a bachelor pad.
Sure. And then, having to get you to buy into their relationship as the viewer, knowing that it's fake, that all their backstory is fake. So building this new commitment between the two of them on the backs of this mystery, I think it's a can be an uphill battle, but for me it works. How about you? Like how do you
Yeah. No,
you root for them by the end, like to be together.
I do root for them to kind of get together at the end. I will say maybe, I wish maybe there was a little bit more time devoted to like them really getting to know who they are. But I think where the movie ends is saying like that's what they're gonna do. Like,
Right. I agree.
they're not a married couple by the end of the movie. They're a couple going on their first date.
Yeah.
And they have he has a good inclination that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
So I really liked that part of it. You know what I mean? Like we're not, the movie's not selling you on like their brains were completely white, but they're the perfect match for each other. They're going to be in love forever. They're going to give it a shot because it seemed to really work out. Like whatever was this day was,
Yeah.
that that there was a connection there that, maybe the aliens, people, the strangers got lucky with finding, but like, but maybe something was found there. And I think it's really cool. I will say this. Complete when John Murdoch turns into like God, I guess,
Right.
God mode, where he can change the entire world,
Yeah.
their world. It's only a couple square blocks of a city, but at a whim, and he uses that power for a meet cute. That's a little extra. That's a little selfish.
Right.
He creates water in the sun just to kind of get her on the dock and say, "What's up, baby?"
I mean, that's love. That's true love.
That's true.
That is true love.
Yeah. Don't tell her that. Don't tell her you did that. That would be like coming on a little strong.
That's true. That's showing off at that point.
Yeah.
So we talked about how John Murdoch he was a blank, like I said, didn't become this serial killer element, but somebody who did was Mr. Hand, played
That
by
guy.
Richard O'Brien, Riff Raff of Rocky Horror
Rocky
Picture
Horror.
Show fame. But I think we could talk about The Strangers as a whole, but let's talk about Mr. Hand, and everything will just kind of fall into place, I feel like, with that, because I think he does a great job of kind of being the face of the strangers. Like there are multiple ones that you deal with
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie, but he is more or less kind of the face. And especially once he gets to the
Well,
point
isn't
where
somebody else called Mr. Face? So he's
I'm
not.
sure
He's
he
the
is.
hand.
There you go. He's the hand. Exactly. He's not the. I don't need a
Yeah.
hand. I need a face.
Yeah.
But he. So yeah, he becomes the the mascot. How
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
of the strangers? But and it's great too because obviously this is a big experiment, and he kind of becomes Frankenstein in a way, or not Frankenstein because he didn't necessarily experiment on himself, but the mad scientist who experiments on himself because he injects himself with the version of John Murdoch that he was supposed to be. And you kind of see Mr. Hand change through the course of this movie,
Yeah.
which I think is very interesting because they have such a hive mind kind of collective.
Yeah.
Him becoming almost individualistic is, I think, very interesting and very effective,
Well-
and a great way to kind of break what they've got going on.
And we said we didn't want to talk about the Matrix too much, but like if you just took what you just said and said you were talking about Agent Smith from the Matrix and Hugo Weaving, like it's almost the exact same explanation. Like Mr. Smith stands out in a bunch of agents that all look exactly the same. He ends up over a trilogy of movies finding his own identity. Like there is. I definitely felt like some similarities there
You said
watching
that, I
Mr.
didn't.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
watching Mr. Hand. But you're right though. It's like again, like all these aliens are kind of the same. They're all bald, super pale, wear trench coats and black hats.
Yeah.
But like yeah, Mr. Hand is able to kind of to branch out and kind of become the lead of them. Even though that little scary kid is the freakiest
I mean,
one.
definitely has the voice to match.
And
Mr.
when they're-
Sleep.
Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Sleep.
Sleep.
And who's a girl. When I'm looking at IMDb, it says actress.
Ah.
So bald little.
There you go.
girl.
That's awesome.
And I'll say all these guys when they're in the guys that like aren't allowed to leave home base or HQ, like
Yeah.
they all kind of look like Darth Vader when he with his helmet off.
Sure.
Like Mr. Book, like definitely gave me like, I guess good guy Darth Vader vibes when he was right before he blows up. But yeah, Mr. Hand, like you said, like because he got interjected with Mark's memories, or I'm sorry, John Murdoch's
right,
memories.
Who he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
The serial killer.
Right. Yes. And he kind of finds this almost like humanity throughout that process. Yeah, I did think they found a way to kind of make these generic aliens just like almost like Jason, like they just were hunting from behind kind of guy, like
Yeah.
Jason the
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, but and then turn him into a real character and give some real depth. I thought was cool.
Yeah, well, and like I said, this idea of breaking away from the hive. I think that there's a really great scene, effective scene with Mr. Hand when he goes to the waterfront and finds Emma sitting there, kind of
Yeah.
dreaming about thinking about John
Reminiscing.
and how reminiscing exactly. And he has like some really amazing lines in there. And he comes under such, I would say, pressure from these new memories that are in his head, and how it's kind of pushing him away
Mm-hmm.
and becoming, like I said, more individualistic. And he talks about like the idea of like independent human memory, and he has this like imagine the torment of such an existence.
Yeah.
Like he's realizing in that moment, like it's like how terrible it is to be human, but how amazing it is to be human all at the same time.
Right. Yeah, and that's like part of the biggest slow reveal of the movie is like, what are these strangers really trying to do? Like, why are you giving people fake memories? Why do you keep changing the city? And they're trying to find what makes people unique, like their soul.
The human soul.
keep-
They're going with
yeah.
that kind of vibe.
But their process for finding those answers was through the mind, like changing memories,
Right.
seeing how people react to lifestyle. Where like what I think Mr. Hand is learning, and basically John's like one of his or at least final line I think to Mr. Hand is that like you're looking in the wrong spot. Like if
Yeah.
we have a soul, it's in the heart, not in the brain.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Like I said, I think ultimately we were able to cultivate a pretty decent big bad, like collective big bad, which I think makes a movie like this work. And
Yeah.
like you said, it does. It is part of the reason what makes the Matrix work as well, because the agents are obviously the same thing. Whether it's a homage or ripoff or whatever, like it makes it works the same way.
Yeah.
Essentially, and I think that it's effective. That's
Yeah.
either way.
Now, I think when you're in a movie like this, you got to go big. Like you've got aliens running through the city. They're changing reality on a whim, and you're kind of like, okay, like I get that they have the power to do this, but like, and maybe they're in a bad section of the Bronx or something, but like, how is this actually work? Like, how is, all right, they can't get out, but it's like WandaVision. How can people not get in? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And so, like, that was going to have to live up, and there was going to have to be some answers. And I was like, these answers aren't going to be really, probably be that good because it's not really what the movie's about. So it's just going to be weird. But no, they actually go big. And like when John and Inspector, whatever,
Mr. Hand?
no,
William
Hurt.
Bumstead. Oh,
Yeah,
Bumstead. Yeah,
that's
Bumstead.
right. Oh, bum. When they get to the edge of the city, and he breaks out, like they tear the wall down.
Yeah.
Again, kind of like Truman Show. He gets to the edge of the world, he breaks out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's outer space. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of on this worldly spaceship thing, living in outer space. There is no sun. That's why it's always dark. Like, and you're like, oh my God, these people are like literally have been taken, like not taken from their home and put into this diorama of a city. Well,
Right.
they have, but
They
like
have.
not on Earth.
Right.
Like a floating one to like, and for the stranger's own existence. That was a big like, whoa kind of moment. Like this movie is out there. This movie is different.
Yeah. Well, and it's great too because it kind of goes back to that effect too. Because when you have something like that, it's got to sell. When you see it on screen, like it's got to sell, and they were able to do that so well with when you have William Hurt, going out into space, his final scene, and you get the whole view of the city, this like circular plate that the whole thing is kind of on. It's a mind blowing moment. Like, and I think it had to nail it, had to land. You know what I mean? Like it needed to sell the gravity of the situation, and it did. And I think that. Again, being able to, whether it's a mixture of miniatures and whatnot,
Sure.
They were able to sell it effectively. And I think that is what kind of gave the weight of the reveal.
Getting the scale, I think, as William Hurt and the one other strangers, like dead bodies floating through space,
Yeah.
and then seeing the city from that kind of perspective, I thought that was a cool way to do it, other than just like hole in the wall, then show the city from far away kind of thing. Like,
Right.
I don't know, it was a cooler way to get to it.
Yeah. But, we've talked so much about homages. I could not watch that scene of him floating away, William Hurt floating away without thinking of Ebony Maw in was it
Infinity War.
Infinity
I literally
War.
just watched that yesterday.
Yeah, from Infinity War. So like I thought the
Yeah.
same thing. I'm just like watching him float away. I'm waiting for him to freeze
Yeah.
up and like I'm
I
just like, oh my God,
I
it's
know.
Ebony Maw.
I literally just watched that yesterday. So when I saw that scene, I definitely thought the same thing. I'm like, I guess this just be more, because Ebony Maw was supposed to be kind of from Aliens. So I'm like, I guess this shot is supposed to be from Aliens, or more similar to something from Aliens, but it's just reminding me exactly of Ebony Maw.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll say that I thought was a surprise, that like it felt like they invested some time in the stranger's phobia of water, and
Yeah.
that really never came around,
That's true.
which I kind of felt was a little odd, because if there was 2 or 3 scenes where they had kind of mentioned they don't like water, careful,
Yeah.
they don't like water, and you had to go to water to get to the edge of the city and stuff. So I was like, it's weird that they never did anything with that.
Yeah, usually stuff like that does kind of pay off, but I agree that it didn't necessarily pay off in this. But I mean, it is what
Whatever.
it is,
And
yeah.
I'll I don't know if we're kind of getting toward the end of like I want to talk about our question, but
Of course.
I do think the Warinsky, the
Walensky, yeah, the other
detective,
like
I
the
thought
crazed
that
detective.
character was really interesting too. In his 2 or 3 scenes, like super short, he's able to give you a lot, like a vessel of a lot of information.
Yeah.
And then that like suicide, when he's like, he kind of clears up, you can't get out of the city.
Right.
There's only one way out, and then he kills himself. I'm like, oh, that was kind of great. Like
Yeah.
that way of saying this is the way out.
Yeah. Well, and you also love it too. Like when you walk into, you got the scene where William Hurt goes to see him at his house, and then you walk into his room, and it's just like everything is scribbled on ceilings,
Yeah.
floors, walls. Like I feel like that again. That's such like a '90s kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like it felt very much of the moment, but it works. And it's great. The spirals and all
Yeah.
of that. Like that whole thing.
It is the city.
Right, it is the city, exactly, and I think that that kind of iconography and that kind of art direction and all of that stuff just kind of adds to the stew of tension that a noir movie needs. And I think that his final scene on the platform with John Murdoch I thought was really effective, because John Murdoch's whole obsession with getting to Shell Beach, asking everybody, how do you get to Shell Beach? Well, you go. Actually, I don't
Where do you
remember. Like, you
go?
go down this way,
Yeah.
or no,
Yeah.
you go that, like that kind of thing. Like, I think
Brilliant
all of that
plot
stuff.
point. Great plot
Yeah,
point.
right. Well, and again, it obviously foreshadows the end because
Yeah.
that he creates Shell Beach. So he's
Right.
like, I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's real, but I'm going to create it because I can.
He knows where it should be.
Right, exactly. So he puts it where, he
Yeah.
puts it out in that water that he creates. But, and I think that's also part of it too, as far as, just creating the meet cute situation, like you said earlier.
Right.
Like, I think, making the world what you want it.
Yeah.
Having the power to make the world what you want it. I think that's part of the theme of this movie that, maybe doesn't hit you over the head, but that's
Yeah.
fine. I think that's, again, that's what the magic of movies is, you kind of take away from what you want. But for me, it's that, it's that, the other people are trying to control you and make you who they think you should be, or, make you their plaything, but you need to make the world what you want it to be, and for your own happiness.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think we have a question that's bigger than normal
Oh,
to
sure.
tackle, like saying like, why
Yeah.
did this movie not catch on?
Okay.
Should we try to tackle that a little bit?
We can definitely talk about that.
It's going to be
a little
tough.
Yeah. Why not Dark City?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, The Matrix is a like staple. Like, it's almost something you would show your kids. You think your kids are going to show their kid. Like, it's a movie. Like, it's a movie.
Cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. Even though the sequels aren't nearly as good as they remember to be, but
Sure.
but The Matrix is a cultural phenomenon. It absolutely was. So many spin-offs, video games,
Yep.
Animatrix was pretty awesome. Like, just an incredibly deep world that was just super interesting that I'm not sure we don't actually live in. I mean, I'm not
Right.
sure that
Well,
that's
okay.
not true.
Well, okay, we'll keep that in mind because that could be part of our question or part of our answer. I
That
should
could,
say.
you know what? That could be. But so, what were some of the things that maybe, and you might know more of these than me, since this movie's been in your zeitgeist longer than mine, because mine's been 2 hours. So, name a couple things that you think maybe, or some of the reasons why this movie didn't catch on.
Well, I think you kind of nailed part of it just a second ago. I think one thing for me that probably made The Matrix resonate on such a larger scale than maybe something like Dark City is the technology element of it.
Mm-hmm.
We are, at the time in the 90s and makes it even more so now, is the rise of AI and the
Sure.
rise of, machines and things like that, and how they interact with our everyday lives. And I think that is something that, as far as like the human paranoid mind goes, has been there for a long time,
Yeah.
for multiple decades now, and has only gotten worse. Which, when it only gets worse, it makes something like that feel prescient and
Right.
feel more, connected to your timeless, really. And I think while Dark City has that same narrative, I think the idea of the strangers they're cool and amazing. I love
But they're
them.
weird.
Right, but not only they're weird, but it's like they're still maybe a little more ephemeral
Yeah.
than something
less
like with the
believability.
right. Well, and just again, like with the Matrix, it like the machine feels more in your face. It
Mhm.
feels more real. It feels more tangible
Yeah.
for the time. So I do think that was definitely a factor. But
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like I said, I think that the bad guy being aliens versus robots, I guess, is that a part of it? And like, being stolen and put on a spaceship or being trapped in a pod, kind of giving these fake memories in the same way, or could be able to, I guess, maybe be able to create your own fake memories. But yeah, I do think that believability kind of makes it feel like it's hitting a little closer to home.
Yeah.
And I don't know if saying it's a little more interesting is the right way to say it, but it's like everybody could be like, oh, if I was in the Matrix, I would do this, or I could learn this, or you know what I mean, because some people can choose to go into the Matrix, where you can't really choose to go into Dark City, and you really don't have anything. Like when you're in Dark City, you don't know your past. Like there isn't. So even when he's going to save them, like they don't really answer like what's life going to look like from here on out for everybody else.
Right.
Because like what's he really
You're
going
stuck
to?
in space now, man.
It's like if I let you figure it out, you're still going to be trapped.
Right,
So they're
yeah.
going to all be. Are you all just going to be aware that you live on a 5-block city. So that'd be a tough question to answer. But like the
Sure.
Matrix, you can kind of fill in all those gaps. Like what living in the Matrix would be like. So there's something like you could really put yourself there
Yeah.
and live in those shoes. What about this too? I also think like this movie is very 90s noir.
Yeah.
But The Matrix kind of is more like 2000s sci-fi.
Right.
It almost is like,
It's
or maybe
kicking
it's
off the next decade.
yeah, it's kicking off the next decade, and maybe it set the blueprint for the next decade. But like there is, I do think, a difference. So visually, there's some incredible similarities. Where come on, let's be out, like
Right.
come on. But it does feel like one is going. Like one is perfectly where it's at. Like it's not like outdated or anything. It's of its time.
Yeah.
But one is like it's what the future will be.
Yeah, no, I agree. We were talking about the technology versus the strangers element. I just kind of had the thought. It's almost like one is a rotary phone and one is a cell phone.
Sure.
And people aren't really afraid of rotary phones.
Yeah.
But they are afraid of cell phones. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that could be kind of a way to look at it as well. And Matrix has obviously got a little bit more cyberpunk in it. That was not really what I would call Dark City.
No.
Like they didn't really have that. It was just again more of kind of like a throwback to your 1940s noir type stuff. So I think that is another thing as well. You're right, like something looking to the past and looking to the future. I think that's a really good point. I think obviously they went bigger. The Matrix
Sure.
as a movie is, I would say, a bigger spectacle
Yeah.
than Dark City. Like Dark City is a bit more subtle even though it does
sure.
have that, that finale sequence is really big. You've got John Murdoch floating around. You've got the Mr. Mr. Book.
Yep.
Like it's floating around, all of these
Mind
things.
fight.
The mind fight, right? Exactly. Which you could think about we were talking about Matrix Revolutions, the last Matrix, with him and Mr. Smith. I mean, with Neo and Mr. Smith, they have the same thing where they're fighting in the sky. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I'm just saying, but it's still like it feels. Even with that kind of big spectacle element of it, it still feels like a smaller movie than The Matrix. And that could just be hindsight in a way, and especially knowing where The Matrix goes. You know what I mean? But because obviously every Matrix movie after the first one gets bigger and bigger and so on. But, I think but even with that, for me, I still feel like Dark City is really great. You know what I mean? It's still
again,
underrated.
we're not trying to necessarily compare them. We're just wondering why. And it's just like some things catch and some things don't.
Right.
And it's like, and you also got to remember, all right, well, if you're going to say, and I would be willing to say that obviously Dark City was a huge inspiration.
Right.
And now you have this opportunity to build upon this idea.
Right.
That, of course, that idea should be better than the original because the original gave you that core groundwork to work with.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, now how do we make this part cool? How do we make this cool? How do we make it's almost like you would talk about on Copy of a Copy or something like the original. The second one, when they're making them because the time has expired and they can enhance the ideas, like Nosferatu. Every 50 years they redo it. It's better. It's been. I think that we kind of agree that everyone got better and better because they're expanding on the ideas, filling in the cracks. So Matrix was kind of able to kind of have that advantage, and also like. Bullet time was really cool. Like,
right.
They just had
the spectacle of it.
Yeah, they had some things though that were super just like revolutionary in like CGI business. Like bullet time changed fights scenes forever, really.
And the choreography of the martial arts all together.
Right.
Making it kind of having that kung fu movie.
The action, it took Dark City and it added more of an action movie to it too. Yeah. Where this is strictly noir.
Yeah, I think. Really, any one of these reasons could be
a
reason, or all of them, as to why.
A few more we even mentioned.
Right, as to why Dark City didn't necessarily hit. It could have been just time. Timing. 98 wasn't the time. 99 was the time. For this. But I do think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like I said, I think the some of the effects, kind of making it a bigger spectacle. I think definitely bullet time. Those kinds of things. Those little things often make something kind of just catch when something doesn't. But I think in the end, I'm not going to walk out of this saying the Matrix is a ripoff. I see that. I see all kinds of videos out there since I started kind of doing my research to do this episode where they were like, is the Matrix just a ripoff of Dark City? And I can get why people might say that, but I think that both movies are what they are. Can I really say why Dark City didn't hit? Maybe not,
Yeah,
but
no.
I do think some of these things that we said are definitely, at least a good indicator of why that may have happened.
They're part of the reason.
You
They're
know.
part of the reason. And we talk
Rotary
about
phone and cell phone, like I said earlier. That's it.
Yeah.
That's our answer. Rotary phone versus cell phone.
Both work.
Both work.
both get the job done. Both are enjoyable. It's fun to go bring,
Right.
but it's
Exactly.
just one's just maybe a little cooler than the other
There you
because
go.
it can spy on you.
Right. There you go. And like I said, more people are afraid of a cell phone than they are of
Yeah.
a rotary phone. But okay. So I think that answers our first question pretty well. But again, that is not our biggest question. That was maybe one of the bigger types of those questions we've
Yeah.
had recently,
Yeah.
but it's not our biggest question. It's not why we do this podcast. We do this podcast, Ray, because I have got to know, did you like Dark City and would you recommend it?
That is the right question. That's an iRobot kind of quote. Since we've got the same director. Yes, I did.
Yes,
Rob.
2 in a row.
I like 90s noir sci-fi. I did enjoy this movie. And you know what? We just kind of talked about maybe some of the reasons why The Matrix is cooler. But you know what? I think this movie did better. It wrapped up its own story,
Yes.
and it didn't worry about doing hundreds or hours of world building and
Right.
and try to make something that is almost endless. Like they wrapped up a story.
Sure.
And I do appreciate that here. I love the special effects in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're so good that they are kind of timeless. I think, and they're great use of practical. I miss the idea of practical effects
Absolutely.
in movies, because even the practical ones just don't even, you can't really tell if they are practical anymore. But this was like, you can tell it's real, it's tangible, and it's used well. The movie does a great job with the reveal of information. I think it keeps you on your toes, and there's really no way you're going to get it right. Like you're not,
Right.
like it all makes sense, but you're not going to figure this movie out after watching for 15 minutes. And I enjoy that about the movie because the movie goes weird, and it had to. Like I think like everything they were setting up, like the movie like punches you right in the face that you've got aliens on this planet. All right, if you're telling me that in the first 30 seconds, this movie better be weird, and it is in the right way. And like I said, the cast is really fun. All the characters work well together. They give each other like what they need, like informationally, emotionally, and I just think it really works. It's really fun, and I think more people should check it out. I don't know why I never did. I really have no recollection of this even being in the theaters.
Yeah.
I know when I missed some movies, I don't really remember how I missed this one, but I wish I didn't.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's probably one of the best underrated films
Sure.
of the 90s. And I think, it's gotten cult status over the years since then. And it's had some, even at the time, though, it did have some pretty big defenders. And I think one of the biggest was actually Roger Ebert.
Oh, yeah, he was on the commentary.
He's a big defender of this movie. He was a big proponent of it. He did when they did the re-release, I think in 2008 of the director's cut, he was part of the intro, and he also did an audio commentary.
Oh, wow.
For it. And I remember one of the things he said, like in the intro, it was about this movie. He's like, there are frames of this movie that are more beautiful than they have any right to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree. I
Yeah.
think that this movie is shot so beautifully. I think that the world, you just, like I said earlier, you swim in it. It's so thick. It's so, you live in it. It's great. He even said, I think in his, I've got his quote here, it was a visionary achievement. And he said, it stirred my imagination like Metropolis in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that this is a great, great movie. And, like I said, I wish more people did love it, as much as I do. And I'm glad
We're
that
doing our
you
part
do.
to make sure
And
that
we're-
could happen.
Exactly. I'm doing my part right now. I got one more fan for Dark City. And hopefully, if you had not seen this movie, you are now a fan of Dark City too.
All right, Rob. Well, we've been discussing this Dark City movie. It was really fun. I know you've watched some other things, maybe less dark things, maybe some brighter things. What else you been watching?
No, I definitely don't think I've been watching any lighter things. Brighter, not even brighter. I don't even know if that counts. So let's see. No, I have definitely been watching some stuff that I'm dying to talk about. One was I guess the don't want to call it a fad because that sounds terrible. Like the cultural event of the last few months, and that is Obsession.
Yeah. Well, fad makes it sound like it's fake.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to say that because I finally got around to watching Obsession. And everybody was raving, and sometimes that makes it hard to go into a movie like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody says it was perfect. And
Exactly.
Now you're just going to be looking for things that are not perfect about it, potentially.
100%.
Subconsciously.
Yeah, and so I watched the movie, and I gotta say, it's fine.
Yeah,
Like it's fine.
Just got in. It's fine for me.
Yeah, like it's a monkey's paw type story. I think the main actress, I'm blanking on her name, but she was absolutely fantastic in it. I think she really did carry the movie in a lot of ways. I think one of the more interesting elements of it is that the main antagonist really is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting twist on it. So I do think that kind of puts it ahead of the pack a little bit. And the direction is superb. Like it is. It really is. Like they were able to manage to put together some really creepy moments and some memorable visuals that definitely, again, kind of set it apart from the pack of modern horror. So, I mean, it's a good movie thematically. I'm not necessarily saying it's anything I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's the classic monkey paws type story. But, you know, I do think that there are some things about it that make it pretty enjoyable. Let's see. I wrapped up the Vampire Lestat season
love
3
that
on
show.
I love that show, man. I loved the first 2 Interview with the Vampire seasons, and then when they switched to Vampire Lestat, I thought it was genius because they're really following the books and they continue to do it, but they're kind of charting their own path, creating their own world. And I think it still fits within Anne Rice's themes and style, and it just works so well. And the guys that they have cast in these 2 roles continue to just knock it out of the park.
That's cool.
So Lestat is just fantastic. Louis is fantastic, and it's great. And they're rolling it into a 4th season, which is going to be Queen of the Damned. So they're going to change the name yet again.
Ooh.
And it's going to go from the Vampire Lestat to the Queen of the Damned, which is the next book. And man, I think the setup was really good. So I'm super excited to see what season 4 brings. Let's see. You know what? You were right. I did watch something brighter and something lighter because I watched The Sheep Detective.
I knew it.
I watched The Sheep Detective, and that movie is damn delightful.
I've heard good things,
Oh my
surprisingly.
God, I could not. It was so good. It's very British, you know, which is kind of cool, and
Yeah.
but it has that. I saw a review that said it was Knives Out meets Babe. And I mean, that is 100% what it is, you know, because you've got the talking animals, which the humans can't hear. They can only talk to each other. But there's a lot of great themes in it about like society, really, and like how like communities are built and like who's appreciated, who isn't, and like all of these different layers. And
We're all
levels
sheep.
right. Well, I mean, there is actually some talk about that in there as well. So I'm telling you, if you have not watched The Sheep Detective and you might look at it and be like, I'm not watching this. This is too cutie pie. Watch it. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. The next thing I watched, and I hated this movie.
Uh-oh.
I'm actually gonna talk about a movie because I hated it, and I don't run into this that
You don't do that often, yeah.
And that was The Drama, starring Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. And this was another one that was like, it wasn't necessarily critically heralded, but it wasn't like shat on either. You know what I mean? Like it was I think pretty middle of the, like, decent reviews.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say middle of the road, decent reviews. But man, I hated this movie.
Wasn't for you.
No, because it was a movie that felt like it had something to say and really and set up that it was going to have something to say, and then refused to actually want to talk about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That doesn't work.
No, and it's so funny because I looked on the Rotten Tomatoes consensus, you know, for the critics review, and the first line was flirting with complex themes. And I'm like, okay, when you're saying you're flirting with complex themes, that when you have to say flirting instead of actually tackling complex themes, I feel like that is
missing the mark.
You're missing the mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like a backhanded compliment almost or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it feels so weird. But the main thing that people seem to take away from it is the performances, and they are great. So I will say that. Like Zendaya is great, Robert Pattinson is great. Alana Haim is in it, and she's really great. And like, but they're all kind of insufferable people, except for Zendaya. Like, because
Good, I like her.
Yeah, I like Zendaya, and I think you like her in this movie because the only thing that I can rationalize in my mind is like the whole bent is this. They have a thing where they're like talking about the worst things they've ever done, and then when they find out Zendaya's worst thing she ever did, they go kind of crazy. And the rest of the movie, everybody's like treating her terribly because of this thing, but. Not spoiler, she didn't actually do it. So that's
Uh-huh.
kind of the thing. And so, but Robert Pattinson's response to her is so terrible through the rest of the movie. It's almost like this is a movie about somebody who reveals the worst thing they supposedly ever did, which they didn't do, and then you watch somebody do the worst thing they've ever done.
Hmm.
So that's the only way I can really
How
like
they treat
rationalize
it,
it.
how they treat
Right,
her, how he treats
exactly.
her.
But in the end, I'm like, I still don't know if that saved the movie for me. I just really could not stand this movie.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that, Rob.
But so yeah, I just had to get that out because it was really sitting in my craw.
And
But
you're a fan of Robert Pattinson too. Like you like
I
a
am
lot of his
Zendaya,
stuff.
yeah, I
So
am
it's like
Zendaya.
the movie was set up for you to like it.
And we're going to talk about another movie that he was in a minute that I think is
We
really great because I
will.
know you're going to talk about it too. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you because I ended it on a pretty dour note. So Ray, pick us up. Tell us some great things that you've also.
Well, let me
watched.
start on kind of a dour note, and then maybe we'll go up from there. I watched Mortal Kombat 2,
Oh sure.
and I can't say I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? It's
Annihilation bad.
No, probably better than that,
That's
I
good.
guess. But it's like, it kind of feels like this trilogy. The first movie was about getting to the tournament,
Mhm.
and then it felt like the second movie was going to be the tournament, which it is, and the third movie is going to be the next thing. But I think that they wrote this movie as the tournament, and they realized a tournament isn't a movie. So then they had to like bring in Johnny Cage, and then Johnny Cage is just rehashing everything they did with the main character from the first one, the made up character.
Sure.
And so like that kind of all feels like retread of them just like reintroducing this person to this insane concept of Mortal Kombat. And then it's just a bunch of fights and that's kind of it. And it's like the fights are cool, of course, but it's just not really all that engaging of a movie.
Yeah.
I don't
can
know.
see
It just
that.
didn't feel like it worked for me.
Yeah, I definitely could see that just because, I mean, not that it maybe feels like it's something that's kind of like a cash grab in a way because it's like, you've got this IP that you're really kind of attached yourself to, you have the video games and all of that. And it's like, you just want to get these movies out. You just want to capitalize on the name. And
Well, it's been 5 years. They really didn't take their time.
I mean, I guess
They
that's
did take
fair.
their
I mean, I guess
time,
that's fair. But
it's
you
just-
get my
yeah.
point. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? So it's like, are they going to put the time in? And I feel like when so few of those movies like this actually do.
Yeah, and what's kind of scary is I'm really actually looking forward to the Street Fighter movie in October, and I'm hoping that's good. But I'm like, oh man, if that's just a tournament like this, it's not gonna be good. I hope it's
Agreed.
better. A little bit better than that I watched on Netflix, Enola Holmes 3.
Yeah, I watched that too.
I watched
actually.
that. I've watched the other two. I like it's a good little twist on it. I think they have a really good balance of making sure this is a Enola Holmes movie
Mhm.
and not falling into the trap of just doing too much Sherlock Holmes stuff with it.
Yeah.
I think that Miley Brown is great. I think she's really fun in this. It feels different than 11. She's not really like typecast in anything.
Yeah.
So I think that was really good. I mean, I think that was fun. The way they, the fourth wall breaks and that kind of stuff, and
Mhm.
keeping you guessing. I thought for the most part the movie was pretty fun for what it is. It's a Netflix movie,
Yeah.
but I thought it was decently fun, a decent watch. And then we went to the theater a couple times
we
in these
did.
last few weeks. I guess let's tie into Robert Pattinson. We went and saw The Odyssey a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was really great. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. I think it's in my top 5 Christopher Nolan movies, but I don't
Wow,
think it's in my
nice.
top 3.
Okay. It's
And
number
we'll
4.
battle for maybe 5, maybe
Right.
battling for 4. We'd have to see. But I enjoyed it. I think I think it's just so admirable, like his desire to get as much in screen as he can.
Yeah.
I think he's like a master at unlinear storytelling
Yeah.
and really being efficient. I think with the space. This is a long movie. It didn't feel long to me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I know some people said like if you're not really familiar with the books, you can't follow the movie, and I don't know if I agree with that, but
I don't think I agree with that
I mean,
either.
it feels pretty self-explanatory. Like they're
Yeah.
lost, and they, a lot of running back to the ship. I will say every
There is
scene,
a lot of running back to the
every
ship.
scene ends with them right back to the ship.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because obviously not everybody has read the Odyssey, but there's a lot of parts of the Odyssey that everybody knows.
Right.
Whether it's the Cyclops or even the part when they go to Hades and stuff like that. Like those kind of cultural moments that people know about, the Trojan horse and
Right.
that kind of thing. And I felt like he was really able to get all of those things in and connect it for people on both sides, whether you have or haven't read the book.
I
You know
think
what
so,
I
too.
mean? And get people interested enough in the subject matter that maybe there are a lot of people who do go and read the Odyssey after they've watched it. Like, oh, I'm curious to know more about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So
Don't go watch the movie Troy. Don't do that.
Right. Even though it is funny though, the haters of the Odyssey out there, that's their go-to is like pumping up Troy, and I'm
And
like, I don't really understand that.
Troy was universally panned.
Yeah,
people.
I don't really understand that at all.
Yeah. So a lot of the hate that the Odyssey gets is nothing to do with the movie, and
Yes.
it's completely unfounded. So
Yeah, it's just modern day
it's-
trolling.
Yeah, it's made its money. I think it proved how good of a movie it was. And then we went back to the MCU just a few days ago.
Yeah.
We saw Spider-Man Brand New Day in a packed theater. Might be the first time
I
I've been in
know.
a sold-out movie theater since 2019, and I don't know if that's a joke. That
Yeah.
might be serious.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the new Spider-Man movie. I think it was like tonally different, and I enjoyed that. Heavier, and I enjoyed that. I don't know if that means the whole trilogy is going to be like this tone,
Yeah.
but well, I guess especially with the Avenger movies resetting stuff, that might, I don't. Who knows how the next Spider-Man movie will feel, in regards to like connected to this, but like. I don't know. I think they did some really good things. I think Tom Holland, found a way to maybe let himself still feel challenged with this version of Spider-Man. This, trying to avoid spoilers, but everybody knows if you've watched the last one, he kind of ended number 3, No Way Home, with like everybody forgetting who he was, and really in that way having to restart his life as Peter Parker, and he's really struggling to get going. Essentially, he's just doing everything on his own, and there's less and less Peter Parker and more Spider-Man in his life. And I think, that's heavy. It's heavy. He's really dealing with depression and loneliness and stuff, and, finding a way out of that and stuff. So I don't know. It was cool. I liked how they tackled it. I thought it was going to feel cluttered with
Yeah.
Punisher and Hulk and Sadie Sink and the turning into a spider kind of thing they've been flirting with in the trailers and stuff, and I actually think it worked. I think even the Punisher and the Hulk, they're characters with these monsters in them, which is kind of what Spider-Man is doing with this arachnid thing. So they were all like they were characters that worked together. They weren't just there to be there.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. And I think the tone is might take some people by surprise because the last 3 have felt so
Fun.
maybe, yeah, fun. Yeah, I'll say fun. Yeah, and this one does feel it feels a little smaller. It feels
is
a
more
little
street level.
Yeah, more street level, and it does have that kind of darker tone, heavier themes and not even that the other ones haven't had heavy themes, but it maybe just more how they tackled them and portrayed them on. And this was, and some of that's probably changed the director.
Sure.
John Watts didn't come back for this one, so Daniel Cretton. Daniel Cretton come back.
Who had done Shang-Chi.
Who done Shang-Chi came in for this one, and you felt his fingerprints on it a little bit. You can kind of see some of those connections to Shang-Chi, even though Shang-Chi was a really fun movie too.
It was.
But I walked in kind of expecting this movie to be a bit more transitional than maybe what some other people thought it might be. Like I think some people really thought this was going to be like the big kickoff for this new era of Marvel, and I don't think that's accurate. I think Doomsday or even Secret Wars is really going to be that.
Yeah.
And so I think some people may have almost make feel underwhelmed by it a little bit because it doesn't feel like that big of an event when you watch the movie.
Yeah.
But I think that's just, again, perception and the people that kind of build themselves these things in their mind before they go into a movie. But I agree with you completely. I think it's really great. I honestly think it's, as far as the standalone Marvel movies, the Spider-Man movies probably have the best track record right now.
Yeah.
Just not as many missteps and
Right.
that kind of thing. So I think that's really great, and I continue to see Tom Holland being Spider-Man for a while.
I hope
and
so.
really
I
knocking
think
it out
he's
of the
great.
park.
All right, Rob. Well, I think we've done everything we've wanted to do in our episode of Dark City. We have to wrap it up. We still have the audience. We still have something we want the audience to do. If you guys think you've done this, double check, because it might be a fake memory.
That's true. That happens.
We know those happen.
You
We
get
just
injected
watched
in
a
your
whole
head.
movie about that.
Exactly.
So double check if you have liked this podcast yet. If you haven't, do it. Double check if you've subscribed to the podcast. If you haven't, do it. Leave us a 5-star review if you've never done that, because if you do, we're going to read it live on air someday. Email us at carrayrob@gmail.com. And don't forget, you guys can also reach out to us on Blue Sky if you want to.
That's right, everyone. Now you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. By all means, go give us a like on both of those platforms and see all the fun things we are doing over there. If there is a comment section on whatever platform you are listening to us on, by all means, let us know what you thought of Dark City. If this is your first experience with Dark City, I definitely want to hear from you, and I want to see if you feel like it is underrated as I feel it was, and now I feel like Ray also thinks it was.
Tell us if you think it's our Matrix ripped it off.
Or that, definitely. Let us know if you think that the Matrix ripped this movie off. We will be back next week with a brand new episode of
Copy of a copy, Rob.
Copy of a copy. I have been doing that a lot lately. That's what happens when you get old. You just can't remember
so many
anything.
Shows.
And we have a lot of shows. But yes, it is a copy of a copy. And we are very excited because we are doing a new kind of remake that we have never done before. And it is when a director remakes their own movie.
Yeah.
And that is because we are going to be watching the original and the remake of the Alfred Hitchcock classics, The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Which we've never been said. No, it's never been said about us.
Well, I forget.
I think I made that
things
same
now.
joke last time we did this interview too, or like preview too. I hope
you
not.
may have. Well, I mean, again, I
That would
forget
literally be a
things and
copy
you
of a
repeat
copy.
yourself. That's how you
Yes.
know we're old. But anyway, and then we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode of Say Hello to My Little Film. It'll be back to Ray, and I am on a streak now, and he is on a major streak.
I almost
So
want,
I want him to break it.
I almost want you
I
to
know.
dislike this
I want you to
next
break
one.
it. Break your streak, Ray. Pick something I'm gonna hate.
Okay.
Please do. And then we will be wrapping up the month with a brand new episode of Hello Movies, My Old Friend, where Ray and I are going to be revisiting the Rob Reiner, rest in peace, classic. I'll say classic. I remember loving it. The Elijah Wood movie, North.
Yes, North, the kid who says, "Parents, sayonara, I'm
Right?
out of here."
Exactly, and tries to go find a new set of parents. I remember really loving this movie.
Yeah.
And,
It's not rated well, though, as we kind of peeked
I
at it.
know,
so.
but you know what? There's a couple of Rob Reiner movies, there's a couple of movies, and maybe the other one isn't Rob Reiner, but there's a couple of movies that I love, kind of from this era, that have the same thing, but I love them.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a
just the
kids
same.
movie, so maybe like critics are tough on it because
That's
it's
fair.
a kids movie.
That's fair. But no matter what, you are not going to want to miss a single episode. But until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
Hey everybody, Ray here. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of what I'm going to be presenting to Rob in 2 weeks when it's my turn on Say Hello. I'm going to be presenting Rob the 2000 Eric Bana movie Chopper. I think Eric Bana is amazing in this movie, playing Mark Chopper Reed, who's kind of a legendary Australian criminal who wrote his autobiography while in jail, and just an excellent performance by Eric Bana that kind of sets this movie apart. I just find him captivating to watch, and I'm hoping that Rob will find the same thing. So if you guys haven't checked out Chopper, find time to do so, because we're going to be talking about it in 2 weeks.